Wow. Thank you, Big Daddy Government. Govern me harder, please.
Sheesh, that was intense.
Welcome back to Come and Take It. Those of you who have already given us a 5-star review, we appreciate it. And those of you who have yet to do it, what are you waiting for? Go over there wherever you get your audio podcasts and subscribe to the show, rate it and review it. Give us 5 stars and a nice review because we deserve no less in the non-conservative algorithm with big tech. So let's talk about a topic this week that it's not salacious, okay? It's not sexy. It's not exciting. I think people's eyes sort of glaze over whenever we talk about this particular topic, but it is very much a topic that affects every Texan, all of our lives, and they should know and understand what they're up against, and that is taxes. First of all, I want to make my position clear. Taxation is theft. My personal opinion. The state should not get to, by force, threat, or coercion, lay claim to money that was not earned by them. It was earned by you. Like, that's crazy to me personally. I know there are some people who are like, but what about the roads? Okay, that's your opinion. Mine is that taxation is freaking theft.
All taxation is theft.
All right. And philosophical opinions aside, here in Texas, we often boast about being a no-income tax state, right? We're like, oh, we're Texas. Oh, don't tread on me. We hate taxes here in Texas. We don't have an income tax. You should move here. Taxes are low. But we boast about it anyway, okay? Now, usually here in Texas, we're not only comparing ourselves to other states and saying, oh, but come look at us. We have more liberty here than anywhere else. We're also looking at the federal level from here in the state of Texas, and we're looking at all of the proposals. And we're looking at, say, Kamala Harris's proposals, okay? She keeps saying, I'm not going to tax the middle class. Only the rich are going to pay their fair share because they're not paying their fair share. And we want them to pay their fair share. Now, what is fair? What is fair share? Well, obviously that's subjective. That's what they do. They use the language. They pick a particular term and they choose it to mean whatever they want it to mean, whether that's fair share or livable wage or anything when it comes to the economy. They just pick these subjective terms that they can then use against you when it's convenient.
They're just thoughts. They don't mean anything.
There's no magic number. It's just whatever they want it to mean at the time so that they can squeeze you as dry as possible. Imagine yourself, if you're thinking about the federal government.
Do I have to?
Imagine yourself like a sponge with lots of holes. Sponges are porous, right? So you're a sponge.
Sponge?
And the federal government is doing dishes. And when they're done, they take you, the sponge, and they, from one direction, ring counterclockwise, and the other direction ring clockwise at the same time, just to squeeze every last drop out of you.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That's how I envision the federal government when it comes to squeezing me dry and making sure that they have taken every last cent that they possibly legally can. And so you look at Kamala's policies, particularly her economic policies, particularly the tax on unrealized gains that she's proposing. And personally, I would assume that you guys feel the same way. I look at that and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that's insane. And so before I go any further, I want to make sure to define unrealized gains without just assuming that every single person in the world knows what it is. If you don't do a lot of, I guess, trading stocks or anything like that, maybe it's not a term that has come across your life. But let me just explain to you what it is. All right. An unrealized gain is, or loss, really, an unrealized gain or an unrealized loss. An unrealized gain is the change in value of a stock, bond, or other asset that you have purchased, but you've not yet sold it. Okay, so your stock is going up, it's going down. You might have a really, really good year with a particular asset where you look at it in your portfolio, you're looking at it, you get these, reviews every month, and every single month skyrockets, increases, goes up and up and up. And you're like, holy crap, I am doing so good. I'm doing so well on this particular stock. I'm doing so well in the stock market. I'm up X%. That's awesome. Well, if you haven't sold it yet, you don't actually have that money. It's funny. This is a conversation that I had with my husband often for a while, where he'd be like, we gained or we earned this much more. We're up. And I'm like, okay, we're up, but if we don't sell it, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, that money's not in our account. So it looks nice on paper. It's not a realized gain yet. You don't have the money. It's not yours until you sell it. And if you don't sell it, you might not sell it until you might screw up and sell it when it's down and walk away with a loss. Well, Kamala, under her plan, you'd be paying taxes on the money you haven't even earned yet. And even if you walked away with a loss, it doesn't matter. You've already paid taxes on the gain on paper, even though it was not a real gain in your life. Like, that's total insanity, right? Like, I feel like everyone, I'm going to play a couple clips for you where you're going to go, oh yeah, everyone agrees that is total insanity, that is the destruction of the country as we know it. And so just to, I don't know, I feel like this is some optimism speaking here, just to show you how crazy it is. And just to show you, it's not just me. It's not just you. It's not just any other person with two functioning brain cells to rub together. Okay. It's not just us who gets it. It's also the rabid left hacks over at CNBC. A lot of the cable news channels, but CNBC in particular. I want you to watch this interaction. I'm going to play a clip for you. And I want you to watch this interaction that they have with Kamala's economic advisor, pushing back, CNBC pushing back on him about just how insane and unconstitutional, by the way, just how crazy this entire concept is. Watch.
All the revenue that comes in from these unrealized gains taxes and the other taxes in the Harris plan are going to go to creating what she calls more opportunity. It's to make sure that every newborn born in this country gets $6,000.
Using the services.
Well, look, you're arguing that this is some sort of foreign concept that's completely unknown in the U.S. tax code.
It's probably unconstitutional. It's probably, and it was never in anyone's intent to
income.
Tax.
It's not an income tax,
and it's never going to happen. Probably. Not in, well, I'm not going to say my lifetime.
I wouldn't say that.
Not in Becky's lifetime.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's crazy and also unconstitutional and also not going to happen in our lifetimes because it's that insane. But it's not just them. Okay, let's not stop there. Let's play another one of Kamala's own. This is Representative Ro Khanna. And Ro Khanna, who should be one of Kamala's spokespeople. I mean, he is a member of her party. He should be, as they are so often on the left, he should be repeating, spouting off whatever line she has decided she wants them to spout off the entire way. And instead, he goes on TV and he's like, it's funny actually, because you'll watch him. He tries to give her the benefit of the doubt in like her intention. He's like, I mean, I understand the intention, but this is a really terrible idea. Watch.
Let me tell you why I don't think a blanket tax on unrealized gain is a good thing. I mean, let's say you're an entrepreneur. You create a company. It gets to 100 million or 200 million on paper. Now, if you're taxing that, you're probably going to force that person to sell it. They're probably going to sell it to private equity. Do you really want the entrepreneurs to be forced to sell their companies to larger institutions and to decline in value? I don't think that that's what you want for a startup ecosystem.
That would be the unintended consequence. Jeff Bezos wouldn't have to do that. They're going after these very, I think the whole policy is demagoguing to go after these people that they say pay less of a tax rate than their maid does, and they have billions of dollars.
I get why, but this is not the right way to do it. And also 95% of investments in startups fail. And so you're going to disincentivize investments in those startups.
So watching these, it seems like we're all in agreement that taxes on unrealized gains is really dumb. It's also really, it's a policy that destroys economies, that destroys people, that destroys those of us who are paying the taxes. I mean, you could walk away from that just having your whole livelihood ruined because you paid taxes on an asset that you didn't sell and you waited until you were losing and then you had to sell it because you were living in, let's say, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's America and times were tough and you just needed something liquid. So you sold it when you were at a loss and you can never get back the money that you paid that you never actually earned on paper.
What kind of crap is that? Kick you while you're not.
Like, we're all in agreement that that is really, really freaking crazy to do to an American citizen. But there's a problem with that. See, here in Texas, where we boast about low taxes, where we're liberty, give me liberty or give me death. We don't have income taxes. We boast about that. As I mentioned earlier, we're actually paying an unrealized gains tax here in this state every single year. They just call it a property tax. But make no mistake, a property tax is as crazy as Kamala Harris's unrealized gains tax. Because here in the state of Texas, maybe I don't have to remind you guys, but I'm going to anyway. Every year in the state of Texas, you have to pay government officials an amount of money based on how much they have determined that your home is worth. They set the criteria for determining how much your home is worth. You don't get a say in the matter. You can go protest it. You can go fight it. You can go argue it. You're going to waste a ton of time. And sometimes you're not going to be successful because they have the ultimate authority on what that amount is. And you have to pay taxes on that. Now, did you sell the home that year? Well, no, not necessarily. Does it have anything to do with your income that you've made that year or how much you've actually gained, actual gains that you've earned that year? No. You just keep paying the tax based on their assessment. So not only do you have to pay a tax on money you haven't actually made or earned, but it's the government who gets to determine the assessed value. That's quite the rigged system, I'd say. And we talk a whole lot here in the state of Texas about caring about rigged systems. Why not this? And on top of that, you never truly own your home. Again, just like Kamala's policies, that's insane. That's stuff that you think that you would hear in like this socialist dystopia where the government just takes and takes and takes and takes, and you think you own your property, but you don't. That's like crazy, you guys. But hey, it's happening right here in the state of Texas every single year in the no income tax state of Texas. And when we talk about just how insane it gets, allowing the government to just arbitrarily decide how much your home is worth, what is its assessed value, how much you should pay every year in property taxes for your home, regardless of whether or not you actually made money off of how much that value of your home is worth. When it comes to how crazy that is, I want to talk to you about the city of Whitesboro. Let's ask the city of Whitesboro how they feel about the concept of property taxes right about this point in time. So Whitesboro is a city in Grayson County. They've got a population of around like 4,200 people. And the city proposed a property tax rate for 2024 that is 30% higher than the 2023 rate. Now, according to the city's tax notice, the average home value only increased by 11%. The proposed tax rate is going to raise the average homeowner's tax bill by 45%. Make that make sense. You can't. Now, you may be thinking, well, they're not allowed to do that. They have to cap the increase every year because they do increase every year, just like government spending at the federal level. They are going to increase every single year. They are going to find a way to spend all of that money so that they can continue increasing it every single year. So under property tax reform that was passed in 2019, city and county tax increases that exceed 3.5% automatically trigger a tax rate election so that you actually get to have a say in that.
So that's pretty neat.
Wow, shocking. They actually give you a say every once in a while, but here's the catch. This law actually includes and allows an exception for cities with fewer than 30,000 residents. Well, guess how many municipalities that covers in the state of Texas? 90%. You tell me, do you think the lawmakers didn't know that when they passed that law? 30,000 residents. So just because you decide to live in a rural area, the state of Texas says that no public vote is required if the increase does not generate more than a de minimis $500,000 in additional property tax revenue. That's insane. So not only are you getting punished because you own a home, you're also getting punished because you live in a city with fewer than 30,000 residents, because you choose to live in the country. You're going to be double punished. So you might not even get a say in how much more your taxes go up.
News and analysis on what's happening in Texas. End your day with daily headlines from Texas Scorecard. Every day at 5 p.m., join me, Brandon Waltons, as we recap the biggest stories of the day and talk about why they matter to you. From the state capitol to town hall, there's no shortage of events happening. Keep up with it all. Watch and subscribe to Daily Headlines from Texas Scorecard.
So Whitesboro said, they calculated it, beep, boop, 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 with their little calculators. They said that their proposed rate increase would not be high enough to trigger an election or to allow voters to petition the city to hold an election. So they said, well, it's not an addition of 500,000. Therefore, you guys don't get a say. And we're going to raise it 45%. And maybe next year we'll raise it 50%. And hell, maybe one of these days you'll be paying 60% on something that's not increasing more than a couple percentage points. We'll just do whatever we want. Who's going to stop us? You? We tell you what to do. We'd give you the bill and you pay it. And if you don't, you get in trouble with the law. Wow. Thank you, Big Daddy Government. Govern me harder, please.
Sheesh, that was intense.
Now, I do have some good news on this. It's good news, and it's also a good reminder. When it comes to the city of Whitesboro, just like the Sons of Liberty, when they dumped tea in the Boston Harbor, they learned this. The city of Whitesboro learned the same thing. Sometimes you have to protest in order to effect change. And that's what just happened last week in Whitesboro. There was a city council meeting about this particular issue, and Texas Scorecard was on the case. And according to Aaron Anderson over at Texas Scorecard, the city council meeting, there was standing room only. It was a packed council meeting, which, let me tell you, as someone who attends these boring events, usually boring events, I'm sure this one wasn't. When you have standing room only at a city council meeting, that's not good for the city council officials because they rarely ever get visitors. So when you've got all eyes on you, you're like, oh, crap. I think we made some people mad. We pissed some people off. This ain't going to be good. And so Aaron Anderson, again, over at Texas Scorecard, later tweeted out last week, right after this meeting, breaking: Whitesboro City Council listened to constituents tonight and adopted the no new revenue property tax rate. The city administrator will make more cuts to balance the budget based on the NNR no new revenue rate. They did it. They did it. That's really all that it takes. Get active, show up, dump some tea in the harbor. Show these big government bureaucrats that you're not just going to go along to get along anymore. It's important. And it should be. So good on you guys, all of you over at Whitesboro who went and showed up and told these council members, absolutely not. You work for me, not the other way around. Good on you. It's a great lesson for the entire state of Texas because let me tell you something. We need to keep that energy up when the legislative session begins in January. We're still waiting on meaningful property tax relief. Again, I talked about this, I don't know, a couple episodes ago, maybe. These people, especially these rhinos that are in office, they want to run around and take victory laps over some like just teeny tiny little drop in the bucket of savings that they claim that they gave you. It's not meaningful property tax relief until I don't have to pay taxes on my property every single year, my home that I have been paying a mortgage on, that I have not sold, that I have not made any money on, until I don't have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I say that it's way more. I only said thousands 3 times. It's way more than 3 in a lot of Texas homes. It's a lot of money. To pay for what? Crap schools that are going to indoctrinate your children, by the way. So until I don't have to pay to own my home, which obviously means I never truly own it, we still need meaningful property tax relief. Okay? So remember the lesson that Whitesboro taught you. If you yell loud enough, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I don't know about you, but I'm not going to stop until we get it. Especially with the reputation that we want to have, we claim to have here in the state of Texas when it comes to taxes. Okay, put your money where your mouth is, quite literally. So who knew? Texas was in some ways just as radical as Kamala Harris. Now the question is, now that you have this information, what are you going to do about it? Join me in holding their feet to the fire, please. And I'll see you guys next time on Come and Take It.